Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. All right, so today I'm going to be painting Sunflower Summer, and I'm sipping on some peach tea. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page where you'll find additional painting perks such as this one. So this painting that I did today is inspired by a photo that was submitted by one of my Patreon members by the name of Ashley Schleip. I have a benefit for my Patreon members whereby every now and again I'll put out a call for photos. They will submit the photos. I select some of them and turn them into YouTube tutorials. And as a thank you, I will send the original painting off to whoever submitted the photo. So if you are interested in learning how you too could submit your photos to me, or more about the Patreon membership program where there's a lot of other benefits that you get to use to increase your artistic and your painting skills, I have all of that information down below in the video description. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. All right, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a 16 by 20 stretched and primed canvas, so 16 wide by 20 tall. If you're painting along, you can certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, cobalt blue, chrome yellow, deep yellow, chrome orange, Mars black, green oxide, and burnt umber, which I like to call brown. And of course you can switch up those colors, but that's what I will be using. For my tools today, I have a standard number 2 pencil that I'm going to be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a number 6 bright synthetic brush. And I have a number 3 round synthetic brush. And I might refer to these as small, medium, and large, or I'll just call them out by their given name throughout the painting process. And of course you can switch those up as well if you'd like to. If you're painting along with me, you're probably going to want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as some kind of towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I do provide you with a few additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link to my shop where you could purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of the canvas to the same type of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. You can also purchase from my shop things individually, like the brushes from my brush line. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. All right, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to be drawing a basic outline of our landscape and our big flower. I'm going to be using my number 2 pencil. You can certainly use any drawing utensil that is comfortable to you. I'm going to guide you through a series of markers, and we'll connect those markers, and by the time we're done, we'll have some very basic big shapes that we'll be able to utilize during the painting process. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to separate my sky from the land. So I'm going to find myself the halfway point of my canvas. So for me, I've already marked it so I don't lose it. So halfway top to bottom and left to right. So that'll be my halfway point. I'm going to come up about halfway between here and the top of my canvas, which makes me fall right about here. And then I'm going to come down from that about an inch, inch and a half. So my horizon line, or where my land is going to meet kind of my back landscape area and my sky, is about 1/3 of the way down my canvas. And then I'm just going to go to the left and right and give myself kind of a messy horizontal line. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, something like that. And we will have a little bit of a landscape back here as well, but we're going to paint in the sky first. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom of my canvas and put in place a big circular oval type of shape for the center of the flower. So if I come down to the center of the bottom of my canvas, I'm going to then go about halfway between that and the left edge of my canvas, give myself a marker, and do the same thing on the right hand side, something like that. And then I'm almost halfway between my center point and the bottom of my canvas, so for the top of my circular object. So about halfway is right here. I'm going to be a little bit higher than that for the top of the center of my flower, and then I can just connect these guys with a really messy kind of circular type of shape like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a profile of the tips of the petals. So this is a circular type of flower, so I'm just going to give myself markers as to how far down I want the tips to go. Down at the bottom, it's going to be, we're not even going to see the tips of the petals, so this is all just going to be the petals and no tips. So on the left hand side of my canvas, I'm a little bit lower than the top of my circle, so a little bit lower than that. I'm going all the way over to the left, and I'm just going to kind of start my petal process over in through here. On the right hand side at the top of my circle, if I go to the right, I'm going to start up from that just a little bit. So this will be kind of another petal in through there. And then if I go to the center of my canvas, right above that, I've got two little petals kind of popping the tips up in through here. So now that I know that that's going to be the top and these are going to be the sides, you can make any variation of little petal points that you want. So I'm going to just kind of come from here, bring this down a little bit. So I'm going to curve the petal a little bit and then just point a tip. You can have a couple of tips next to each other, and I'll show you how to separate those during the painting process. So then I've got this guy in through here, and then over on this side, I've got this coming down like this. Little point in through here, and I'm being inspired by a photo for where I'm putting these petals. You can certainly put them anywhere that you want, and that's all I'm going to be doing for my outline. I am going to be using my large bristle brush for the next step, so you can make any little fiddling adjustments that you want. Take out a large brush to paint with and get ready for the next step. Alright, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint in the base coat onto the canvas. So all of these shapes we will do a base coat to. I'm using my large bristle brush. I'm going to be using blue, white, green, brown, orange, and deep yellow. If I use any other colors, I'll let you know, but I'm pretty certain that's all I'm going to be using. So for my sky, I'm going to pick up some cobalt blue with a teeny touch of white paint. So a lot of blue with just a teeny touch of white paint. I'm going to start at the top of my sky, just going left to right like this. So quite a bit of the cobalt and just a little bit of my white. Now what I can do as I'm coming down my sky, I'm going to pick up less blue but more white. So less blue and more white is going to be the next time I pick up paint. And then after this, I'm just going to pick up white. So what I'm doing is I'm creating just a natural gradient in that sky where it's a little bit darker at the top and it's going to get a little bit lighter down at the bottom. I have a little bit of blue in my white, so maybe I have a touch of blue in there too. And then just bring this down in through here where it touches my landscape. I don't want it to go all the way white. I want a good amount of blue in it because I am emulating a photo that has a super blue sky, but you could certainly make yours any way that you want. So that looks pretty nice in through there, just going back and forth to get it to blend the way that I want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and then I'm going to do this land area. So I'm going to do that with green, a little bit of brown, and a touch of my deep yellow. And I'm just going to kind of dot it. So green, brown, and yellow are on my brush at the same time. And I'm just going to kind of go in between my little petals like this. And I don't need a lot of paint right now. I just need a little bit on my brush just to kind of get this this textural type of element, and I don't need a lot of paint for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want it to be super duper heavy where it's hitting my petals, because I'm going to be doing those in a minute. But two, I'm just looking for a base coat. So as I go through this, I know that it's okay if I don't have all of this 100% colored in. I'm just looking for something that's going to give me a nice stable base coat to work with for adding my details on later. So again, this is green, yellow, and a little bit of brown, and I'm just tapping it, giving myself this nice textural kind of base coat that I'll be able to use to jump off of when I go to put all of the other details on there. And I'm just going to bring it right up to my blue area. And because I'm using these three colors at the same time on my brush, it's allowing for different tones to start and to give me what'll be a nice natural appearance. And again, I'm not using a lot of paint, so it is taking on some of the light tones from the canvas. So just know that if yours is much darker than mine, it's probably because you're using more paint than I am using. And if yours is more of a solid color as opposed to this kind of speckly textured look, it may be because you're blending more than I'm blending, which are not bad things. It's just a different, it'll give you a different visual outcome. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to move down to this guy down in through here, the center of the flower. I'm going to wash my brush, and this is where I'm going to be using brown and orange. So I'm going to use brown and orange with a similar dotting technique to what I did up top. So brown and orange, and I'm just going to dot this in here. This is going to give me a fabulous base for the center of the flower with lots of almost burnt sienna type of tones. I'm using a bit more paint than I did in the landscape portion. So it's a little bit heavier quantity of paint, so it becomes a little bit darker and richer of a tone, covering the white canvas a little bit better. So up top I used the white canvas to my advantage to get some lighter tones, but down here I'm okay with those darker tones. So you can certainly fiddle with that as much as you want, but we're going to be doing more stuff on top of it, so don't worry if it's not perfect. So now that I've got that, and your edges can be uneven, that's going to be part of the magic that we're going to create. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to paint the petals with just deep yellow. So I'm going to have lots of different tones on my petals later, but I want to ensure that I have a nice solid kind of yellow base to go from. And the deep yellow is more, has a little bit more orangey type of tones in it than the chrome yellow. So I feel that this would be a better place to start for the yellow petals, so it doesn't turn. For me, chrome yellow has almost, I don't want to say a greenish hue to it, but it definitely has that uber bright quality to it, and I want to use that later for highlights and accents to the petals. So I'm starting the base color with just more of a deep tone of yellow. As you get towards, I'm kind of reluctant to hit this area right here because it's still pretty wet. I'll give that a minute to dry before I go too close to that. I am using, just out of instinct, a directional brush stroke to paint this base coat on, because I know that it will be a little bit streaky. So if you want to start that process of a directional brush stroke, you could certainly do that. It's not necessary because we're going to have tons of layering, but you could certainly do that if you want to. I'm going to just kind of go a little bit slower as I go right towards here. And if my center is still wet, which is great, you can just kind of tap that in, allow for it to blend a little bit, and you can just pull it out. I just didn't want it to over blend. That's why I was a little bit reluctant to go near it, but it's fine now. And then I'm gonna go over in through here. And again, I'm just picking up my deep yellow and allowing myself to go right to the edges of where I drew the outline of the petals. And then just coming over in this direction. So you can see I am using a directional brush stroke, just kind of pulling that paint right towards the center, and then allowing for long brush strokes too, so I don't have any or many what I refer to as cut marks or stop marks from my brush. So using a longer brush stroke will help me eliminate those type of appearances. And then once you've got this done, we are going to be using this same brush for the next step. So you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the distant landscape, and we're going to start the sunflower field with more detail. I'm going to use my large bristle brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, green, brown, deep yellow, and orange, and I might use a little white, but I'm not sure about that yet. So I'm going to start with my background landscape up and through here. I'm going to start with a tiny bit of black paint on my brush, and I'm going to get it to meet my foreground landscape. So something like this, I'm just going back and forth, left to right. I don't need it to be a perfect meeting point. It can be just kind of bumpy looking. Once I've got that on, what I'm going to do is I just kind of wiggle my brush in an upward motion to get some textural type of top to it, like this. And now I'm going to start picking up a little bit of my green oxide on my dirty brush. So what this is going to do is it's going to start to add these tones into it. I am using again a photo as a reference to kind of guide me through where these little peaks and stuff are within the landscape, but you could certainly make up your own landscape if you wanted to. That does not have to be exactly like this, but this green on my dirty brush is allowing it to look like there's little pops of treetops maybe being illuminated by the sunshine, and I'm just allowing myself again to not overblend, just kind of tapping my brush. This is intended to look kind of out of focus, so if you see some of that blue behind it, if the blue starts to kind of pop through, that's great, because that's just going to make it look like it is even more distant. So don't be afraid to allow that to show. And if you wanted to, up at the top, you could certainly, if you wanted it to have a little bit more sunshine to it, you could certainly pick up just a tiny bit of your deep yellow, and you could pop just a couple little marks up in through there. Not necessary, I don't even see it in the photo, but if you felt that you wanted that, you could certainly do that. And of course you could manipulate it any more that will make you feel happy. Once I've got this on here, I'm just making sure I don't have many brush marks. There we go. So now in the photo there is a little field peak of looks like a low-lying grassy field area in the back. So I'm going to wash my brush, and this is where I'm going to use a little bit of I think I'm going to go for a little bit of deep yellow. I am going to use white. Deep yellow, a touch of brown, and a touch of white. So deep yellow, just a little bit on my brush. You can even kind of tap it off on your paper towel. And I'm just going to kind of add this little bright piece of land back in through here, just going left to right. It almost goes halfway into the canvas, about that halfway point. I feel like there's a little orange in there too, so I'm popping in a touch of orange on my brush just to kind of allow for it to take on similar tones to what I'm seeing in the photo. It's probably just the distant sunflower field with some sun on it for all I know, but that looks pretty good. So as I'm coming down into the sunflower field, I want it to have perspective, which means I want it to look like there's flowers far away, and then this is obviously our closest one. There is going to be a pretty big one kind of popping its head out over in through here, but all the other ones are just kind of colors. They're oranges and yellows, and there's little black dots, and then there's green leaves. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the photo and I'm going to pick where I see the darkest areas. I'm going to incorporate some black and maybe a little bit of brown into them. Then I'm going to pick where I'm seeing the greener areas, and I might smooth them out a little bit. The greener areas are probably the leaves. And then the dark areas could also be the centers of the biggest flowers that I see. And then I'm going to just kind of dab in some oranges, yellows, the deep yellow, not the chrome yellow. So I'm going to start with a tiny bit of black and brown on my brush. And I see, like over in this area, there's a bunch of little dark marks. So this is probably just in between the petals and in between the flowers. There's a couple of little dark marks up and through here. So I'm just trying to incorporate where I'm seeing these darker areas, but I don't need to bring it into any fancy place. I'm just saying, okay, well, I'm seeing some dark stuff in through here. I'm seeing dark stuff here. My big flower is somewhere in through here, which is going to be a black center, so I don't even really need to do that part, but there's some darkness here, which I think might even be part of the leaves of my big flower, but and then I see a little bit of darkness kind of over here. So I'm just kind of dabbing my brush so I can incorporate those darker areas. It's okay if you bump into this big flower right now, because we have a lot more to go. We just needed in place so we knew where it was, and we again didn't overpaint. I see some dark stuff over here. I got a big kind of a close-up flower right here that's got the dark center to it. So I'm just incorporating these dark marks. I most likely will add a couple more later, but this is just going to get me started. Now I'm going to go into a little bit of, I see a little dark spot over here. I'm going to go into a little bit of green. So I'm washing my brush to get that black off of there, and I'm going to pick up some green oxide and a little bit of brown. So green and brown is on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of find where I'm seeing some of those more solid green areas, so maybe somewhere up and through here. And again, think of this as right now just you're building your way towards more detail. This is just kind of catching where some of the color pattern is. I'm working my way towards the light stuff. But right now I'm just saying, okay, where do I see green? Where do I see brown? I see a couple little green spots in through here. We got some up in through here. And that's going to help to just kind of make our way towards more detail. Even though I'm not aiming to make this look exactly like a photorealistic type of image, I still want to have a lot of those characteristics, and I want to kind of place things in spots that make sense to me. There's a couple of little green spots in through here. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to start incorporating the oranges and yellows, and that's going to start to talk about the sunflowers. So the orange is going to be very dominant. So I'm going to just pick up orange on my brush first, and it's going to be darker on here than it was here. Even though I used brown with this was on a white base. So as I start to say, okay, I'm going to have some orange in through here around this flower, something like that, as it dries, it's going to be much darker. So I'm just kind of dabbing this in wherever I kind of am seeing some orange spots. I don't need to do everything. Again, this is just kind of working our way towards the more details of it. I'm going to just, which is why I'm using a bigger brush to do this, because I don't need to get lost in tons of detail right now. I'll show you how to convert these color marks into more representational of the actual flowers themselves. So this is, again, these are distant. They're meant to be out of focus looking. So just know that just these little marks is fine at this point. So now I'm going to just wipe my brush off, Actually, I'm gonna wash it because I know how powerful that orange will take over my yellow. And then I'm gonna pick up my deep yellow. And then I'm gonna do the same. So I'm just gonna kind of dabble this in. Again, it's definitely gonna be darker than it will be in the end result because, again, of all the colors that are underneath it. But we will get that to pop better later, and you can see I'm just kind of dabbling it in here, allowing for these little marks to occur. And I'm using pretty heavy paint right now, making it more impressionistic type of look in through here, just kind of going in between the spots that I've already designated as the spots, as the colored spots. So something like this, just going around this guy in through here. And again, these are intended to look out of focus, so I am not worried about my edges being perfect or anything like that. And you can see what I was talking about, the yellow being see-through. It's really dark here and a different shade here just because it's transparent and you can see through it, and it's taking on the colors that are underneath it. And I'm thinking that this is looking pretty good. So once I've got enough colors in here that are making my painterly eye happy, I am going to be using, I feel like I would like to use my number 3 round brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can fiddle with it. I think I want some more orange in through here. You can fiddle with it as much as you want. Then you can take out a smaller brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish the field. So the meadow, the sunflower patch, that area we just worked on, we're finishing that. I'm gonna use my number 3 round brush. The colors I'm gonna be using are green, chrome yellow, deep yellow, orange, black, brown, and white. So everything except for my blue. I'm gonna focus in initially on my biggest flowers and leaves. So I have these 2 in through here that are closest to the viewer, and a lot of these areas in through here look to be larger leaves. And then everything else behind that is, I mean, even these 2 are out of focus in the photo, but everything back from that is really just loosey-goosey, impressionistic, but I still want it to resemble sunflowers. So I'm going to show you how to get there. I'm going to start with these 2 in through here because I know I've got a trouble spot where this light, the yellow on top of here, I want it to be very vibrant, and on top of that black, I need to do something to cut it so it will, so I can build the brightness to it. So I'm gonna use my deep yellow plus a little bit of white, and I'm just kind of spinning it together on my palette so I can give this particular flower a little bit of extra brightness coming out of the gate, so I can have so I can cut through that trouble spot. So what I'm in essence doing is just saying, okay, I've got this area that needs better opacity for the colors to be more true to what I want them to be. So I'm using this light color to act as kind of a primer. I'm picking up a little bit of my orange right now to go closer to the center of the flower, just kind of tapping it. And I will make this look better in a few minutes, but right now I just kind of want to get that light color on there, kind of blend this out just a little bit, get this light color on here so I don't have trouble getting those vibrant tones that I want in a little while. So that looks good for that. I'm going to do a similar thing on this guy right over here. So I'm going to use that light yellow and just kind of allow myself, again, this was just deep yellow plus a little bit of white in it to just give myself a couple of vibrant leaves or petals in through here. Then I'm gonna just pick up a little bit of my chrome orange to just kind of get it to have that little darker circle as it's going towards the center of the flower. I think I need a little bit more of that light yellow right in through here. And again, this is just so I can get those vibrant yellows to pop when I want them to in a minute. Those are pretty good for those ones. Now I'm gonna, while that's kind of settling for a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and put any green details in that I want with bigger leaves. So I'm gonna use my green oxide with, what do I want to use? I think I want to use a little bit of deep yellow to give me a little bit more of a yellowy green and then a touch of white into it. So I'm going to call this my light green. So I went and I made green plus a little bit of my deep yellow and a touch of white. And this is going to give me a deep or a light yellow, or excuse me, light green kind of color. And I can use this to just kind of enhance these, some of these green marks that I have. So I don't need to fully paint it in or fully change it to a solid color. I could even use this light green plus a little bit of yellow on my brush if I wanted to have different shades of green. Or I can go back into my green and my dark and my brown to get a darker area in there. But I'm just using it to incorporate where I'm seeing some of those kind of almost bigger leaves in the composition. So this is just my light green, and you can adjust it if you want more of a yellowy tinge, add a little yellow. I've got some over in through here. So again, I'm just using the photo to inspire me, but you can certainly use whatever you want. I'm just right now looking for big green areas in the photo. I'm seeing maybe this, there's one in through here. And of course, you don't have to do it exactly one for one to the photo. That definitely could get a little, I don't want to say cumbersome, but it might be unnecessary. That might be the better word for it. So as I'm going through these, I know that when I start to go for those smaller flowers, I'm really going to be steering my attention away from the photo and just more into carefree flower making. But you can, you know, your brain might not let you do that. Your brain might make you do exactly everything that you see in the photo, which isn't a bad thing. I'm picking up a little bit of brown to just kind of close off this area here. You just got to find where your brain balance is when it comes to taking a painting to its detail level, whatever is going to make you happy. I'm going to put, there's a couple in through here. I've got lots of little ones up and through here. So as I'm going back with this green, now I'm seeing, oh, maybe this is the leaf for this flower right in through here. Maybe this was the leaf for this one right in through here. So I'm kind of detecting that maybe those are leaves from that big flower. But I just picked up a little bit more of my light green with a little bit of yellow because I'm seeing some of that in through here. And now I'm just going back further because I'm seeing just little dots of green. So I'm just allowing myself to paint them in. So that looks good. Now that I've got that, I'm also noticing that there's two little buds up above here, and there's a little leaf kind of popping out from the side of this guy, and a little, let's see, this goes right up to the top there, and that's a little bottom to the flower. And then there's another little one kind of popping out over in through here with a little kind of green bottom to it. There we go. And that looks good. A little bit of green there. So now that I've got that, let's see, there's a big green spot above here too. Oh, I made this way too big. It's okay. I'm gonna put a little green spot in through here. This looks like the back of one. Okay, so now that I've got that, now I'm going to just start working my way to the light colors or the bright colors. I seem to have lost my paper towel, so hold on 1 second while I restock my paper towel. So I'm going to need some lighter kind of pops. So I'm going to use a little bit of that light yellow that I had. So deep yellow plus a little bit of white to guide me into some full flowers. So I'm going to be using the yellows and the oranges to just give the implication of these sunflowers. I don't need to make tons of round flowers, but if I can detect that, like in through here, I'm seeing that there's probably a round flower kind of closer in through here. So you can certainly make them if you're feeling like you can really detect them. I'm using this light yellow just as a pop of brightness. I am definitely going to add more vibrant yellow on top of it in a minute, but I'm using it similarly to how I did those bigger flowers a minute ago. So I've got in through here, maybe we've got one kind of pop in like that. I've got this guy up and through here. And then I've just got lots of little, oh, there's one right in through here. So you can see I'm going over areas that I've already colored, but I'm finding these black spots and I'm saying, oh, those are probably the centers of the flowers. So I'm allowing myself to add the light petals around it. And then in through here, these are, there's tons of light stuff, the light yellow tones, but I'm not seeing a particular flower. I'm just seeing stuff out of focus. So that's why I'm just kind of wiggling my brush with this light tone in more areas. So again, if you feel like you can see a circle shape from the sunflower, awesome. If not, just kind of think of it as you're putting this base on here so you can achieve the vibrant yellows and oranges that that I'm going to be putting in a minute. So this is just kind of adding those onto there. I see a little pop of something right up and through here. I've got these little guys up and through here. And again, I'm not going for any perfect shape on these because again they're intended to look out of focus, but that looks good for those light spots or the spots where I'm going to want some real vibrant oranges and yellows. Just kind of looks like there should be a little bit more in through here. That looks good in through there, and then maybe just a couple more pops right in through here and over here. Now it's hard to stop. Okay, so I'm going to now start adding the vibrant oranges and yellows. So this can be straight deep yellow, orange, the chrome yellow, and white. So for instance, if I pick up chrome yellow and I start adding it onto here, it's really, really yellow. It's got some nice vibrancy to it. I don't need to put it everywhere. Maybe I just kind of pop it on some of these edges over, and I'm not going to do my chrome yellow everywhere because again, for me, it's an overwhelming color to me. I like my colors more subtle, but I do see it, and I feel it's important to incorporate it in some areas. So I am allowing myself to let the chrome yellow happen. Now I can pick up some of the deep yellow, and the deep yellow I feel is going to be a much more calming kind of yellow. It allows for these colors to look much more natural in my opinion. I can bring it into the centers of these flowers. You'll see as I add it to this one, I'm allowing myself to use curved kind of brush strokes, and that will also make these look more natural. Something like that, and just bringing it out to where I had those light colors. And I'm going to use a lot of this. I'm digging this deep yellow, so I'm putting the deep yellow on top of that, the light yellow that I put. And I'm not going for anything other than just these impressionistic kind of dots and marks, and allowing myself to give the resemblance of maybe little sunflower-esque type of formation. So something like this. And then my orange, so again, just kind of dabbing this on top of my that light yellow that I had created. So then my orange can be introduced with this light yellow as well. So without even washing my brush, I can pick up a little bit of my orange and start just incorporating, making sure that that is as much as I want or as little as I want. So you can certainly add more or less. That's going to be up to you how dominant you want this. If it's too reddish, just add yellow to it. So you can have a combination of the orange and the yellow on your brush at the same time, so you can get these deeper tones in through here, more of like a soft orange as opposed to a real reddish orange. So you can have all different kinds of tones of the oranges and the yellows in through here, and it's going to just make it look like a beautiful sunflower field. I feel like I want some of these tones up and through here. And if you want it a little lighter, you can just add a tiny bit of white to it, and that'll give you just a little bit lighter of a pop of that orangey tone. Let's see here. I think I want a little bit more orange around here, and then I'm gonna probably put some light little sunshine pops on, specifically on this one in through here. This one gets a little bit in through here, and again, make yours into yours. It does not have to have every single color where I've made mine. I am just trying to emulate what I'm seeing in the photo in a nice artistic kind of loose way, but you can certainly make yours into a much brighter composition or darker. I definitely feel like I want some additional pops in through here. And again, just allowing myself to create those lightness. I'm picking up a tiny bit of black. I feel like I need a couple of little darker marks in through here. And then washing my brush and going back in for some of that light, or that yellow plus orange. And again, I'm going chrome yellow now with a little bit of white. So this is chrome yellow with a little bit of white, and this is going to allow me to put this super bright little sunshine edge to this flower here, which is what I'm seeing in the photo. So you can do this or not. If you feel like you've got enough sunshine on it, let it be. I feel like there's these little pops of sunshine on these petals here too. So I'm letting that happen. And then of course you can fiddle with yours as much as you want. I might, see if, let mine dry, and if there's any little areas that I feel I could enhance to make my eye happier, I would definitely do that. But I'm thinking that I've got enough sunshine on these guys. I feel like I've got enough of my yellows and oranges to say that these are in fact sunflowers, and out of focus sunflowers, because that's what I'm feeling like the photo is calling for right now, is just all these out of focus little hues behind our main focal point, which is this big guy right here. So I think that looks pretty good. A little bit more light yellows going on my brush just to get this little guy up and through here, and just one more layer of my green down this. Make sure that has its full color on it, and then you can of course make any little adjustments that you feel might benefit you. This guy needs a stem, I think. I'm gonna just give him a stem. There we go. So once you've got yours in a place that is pleasing to you, you can put this brush away. I'm gonna be using my bright brush for the next step, so you can just get ready. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna do the next step to the petals. I'm gonna be using my bright brush, my number 6 bright brush. The colors I'm gonna use are deep yellow, chrome yellow, orange, and brown. And what I'm gonna be doing is in essence kind of identifying each petal and giving them a little bit of stripiness to them. I'm going to have these petals at the top are really light. For some reason in the photo, there's one like rogue petal that's in this vicinity that's darker than the rest with less stripes. I don't know if it's ready to fall off the sunflower or not, but I'm going to do it because I think it's cool that there's like this one rogue petal. But anyways, so I'm going to show you how to create this kind of stripy effect using this brush and your deep yellows. I'm going to start with deep yellow and a touch of orange. So deep yellow and a touch of orange. So every one of these little tips is the tip of a petal. So I just need to figure out which ones I want in front and which ones I want in back. So I'm going to kind of give myself a loose outline of where I want these petals. I'm going to do the ones in front first, and then I can put the ones in back later. So I want this one right here to be in front. So I'm just going to take and just give myself a loose little outline. I already have the edge established up in through here, but we'll have to do more work on that to make sure that it's finished looking. So you can pick any ones that you want to be in the front. That's going to be up to you. Just when you decide, you're going to take and just, this one's a front one, so I'm going to take it from here and bring it, give it a little curve as it goes towards the interior of the flower. Again, this is deep yellow and a little bit of orange. Where's another front one? This rogue one over here. So it's this point right here. And this one is, it's cracking me up because in the photo, it's just so much darker than the rest. It's like it doesn't even belong on this flower, but that's the beauty of Mother Nature. She makes all kinds of creative decisions on her own as well. So those are going to be the front ones, and now I just let's see here. These ones I kind of overlap. This one is kind of in the, it sits a little bit behind here, something like this. And so these become my back ones. Back one, back one. This side, they kind of overlap each other with them not saying one's in the front or one's in the back. So this guy right here, I'm going to take and just kind of bring this down like that. And then this guy right here kind of comes and sneaks on top of that or touches it like that. There's one that overlaps this one and through here. So this is this guy right here. It overlaps that one. There's another guy right here. So this whole area down in through here, you can really just be as carefree as you want, making however many petals that you want. This one kind of scoots in kind of like that and like that. And then over on this side, this one overlaps one in through here. And then there's a big one down in through there. And then there looks like there's a little one kind of underneath here. That's good enough. I think that tells the story of all of them. So now that I know where they all are, where all those petals are, they're going to be pretty dark in this interior area meeting this this center part. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a little bit of my orange and brown. I didn't wash my brush, so I probably have a little bit of my deep yellow still on there. And I'm going to really kind of get this area to intermingle with the little petals. So I'm going to just allow myself a little bit of freedom and just kind of tap this along the edges up into these little shallow areas, just so it will have a place where they can kind of intermingle with one another, and it'll make my painting process a little bit easier. You can even bring some dark stuff underneath some of these petals. So if you have a little dark area in through here, or a little interior petal, you could also pull a little bit of darkness up and through there. Just allowing for these guys to, again, just kind of, I've got a little tiny triangular area in through here, so that could probably be pretty dark. And through there. And then again, just kind of tapping, pulling these colors. Again, this is orange and my brown. There's a little triangle area here, so I could probably just darken that all. There we go. So that's good. Now that I've got that, now I can start just kind of building out. Oh, there's a little triangle area here too. So as I build out, I'm thinking on some of them they kind of buckle out from the center, so they kind of bump and then go that way, and they bump and then go that way. So they're kind of almost doing this. They're not a lot, but like over on the sides here, these ones kind of look flat-ish, but to get that bump to happen, I have a little bit of the brown on my brush right now, which is fine. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my deep yellow and a touch of orange, and I'm going to take it. So for this one, it's got some of these kind of striped lines, and I'm putting them in the contour of that petal. So if it's bumping out, it's probably going to have the width in through here of those kind of stripy lines. So something like that. I'm picking up a little bit more of my deep yellow to give myself a full kind of coverage on that particular petal. So you could, in essence, kind of start with a layer of the deep yellow and then just streak in a tiny bit of the orange if you want, but the orange is going to be more concentrated down towards this base area in through here. So just know that as you're doing it, just to kind of think of that base area as more your dark area, or the areas that are underneath from one petal to the next. So this back one in through here, I still have to go over to my edge and through there. But this back one, maybe this one just has a couple of little streaks, kind of like that, something like that. So it's not a terrible amount. So I'm going to start the flowers like that, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put some of the chrome yellow on the edges of them, and maybe a little bit more darkness towards the center. But I don't want to overcomplicate it to start it. So that's why I'm saying, okay, I'm going to start at this base with more of the orange and pulling it out where I'm seeing kind of these stripes, if you will, in that flower and in the direction that I'm seeing the stripes, because that's going to tell the contour of that particular flower or that petal. A little bit more orange right in through here. And if you're feeling bold enough to use more brown at the bottom, you can do that too. So this is what it would look like if you used a little bit more brown. And again, know that we do have another step that will on these petals just to make them look fully finessed, but you can certainly bring them as far as you want right now. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my deep yellow. So something like this, just making sure I've got pretty good second coat. This guy back here doesn't have much for the stripiness, so I'm just going to kind of use what's on my brush right now. And then this guy in through here's got quite a bit of the darkest stuff right in through here. And then there's some kind of fun shadow, a big one in through here. And then we're just going to pull it up. Again, I'm watching the contour of that particular petal and allowing for that darkness to happen right where it's telling me to. So more orange down at the bottom, in through here. This one kind of is fun. It goes up like this and then back over like this. And I'm picking up my deep yellow as well. And again, this is going to just give me all of those kind of little stripy marks and it'll help me just build the flower in a nice natural way from the way that it is in the photo. I'm not a floral expert when it comes to growing them, nor am I when it comes to painting them. I mean, I can paint a lot of different flowers, but I don't know all flowers. I'm not an expert in painting every single flower out there, but what I do is as I'm tackling a specific type of flower, I'm looking for its characteristics. I'm looking for color variations. I'm looking for how does it transition? Do we see lots of the veins in it? So this one is the one that's got that's darker than the rest. So I'm going more orange up here, and it's lighter in through here. So even you don't need to be an expert in all of these flowers or in any flower to get it to look realistic. It's just a matter of observing those specific characteristics of it. So as I'm going through this, I'm looking for, you know, the way that it's striping, that I'm seeing those stripes, the way that the colors are kind of transitioning from dark to light. They're really being affected by the colors in this flower, really being affected by the light source. So I need to keep that in mind as I'm building this. I'm picking up more deep yellow on this one. I need to keep that in mind so I don't make every petal the same exact color. I've got to account for what's happening based on the light source. So that looks good in through there. This one right here is pretty shadowed underneath the other one, which I will take care of most of that later, but right now I just want to kind of get the general idea into it. It's got a little thing there, and then this one in through here, and I'm watching again the direction. So this one, the direction of its stripes are going this way, which is because of where it's placed or where it's sitting or coming out of the original flower. So just kind of trying to get that. I've got this one in through here. And then once I've got that, I think I've got mostly everything except for this one right here. I'm gonna hit it real quick with my chrome yellow. Let me just get this little guy in through here. That looks good. So chrome yellow and white is what I'm gonna hit the tips with. Washing my brush, I'm gonna pick up chrome yellow and a little bit of white. So I know that these top ones are super uber bright. So again, this is not the end all be all, but it's allowing me to get these vibrant tones on the tops. Again, I'm going chrome yellow and white. It's allowing me to clean up my edges, getting these lighter tones, because I can see right here, I want my flower to go in a specific spot, but it's overlapping that background, and the background is going to be difficult to paint over unless I get these edges nice and light, or those areas with good opacity. So if you're working with a more heavy body paint, that these type of tasks covering other colors is a little bit easier, but I work with a student grade paint that definitely has a transparency to it with all the fillers and stuff in it, but it's a type of paint that I love using because I love to layer. You can see how I'm making these guys a lot lighter than this one, because that one is the one that is the dark horse of the group. There we go. But right now, before I call this step, I'm definitely taking this chrome yellow and a little bit of white and coming towards the tips where I'm seeing the sunshine really hitting these flowers. I'm using a soft touch with my brush, so I'm not pushing really hard. I'm just allowing myself a soft touch, which is going to allow a good quantity of paint to be laid down. If you're pressing hard, you're only going to get a thin layer of paint. If you want a thicker layer of paint, you just press less hard. You press softer. And again, this is doing the same kind of thought process that I was doing up on the other flowers, which is where I want that, where I'm going to want really powerful yellow hues. I'm putting this light color behind it. So something like that. This one's got a big light spot in through here, and I need to correct this tip, so I'm putting my light layer up there as well. Something like that. So again, I'm just following kind of along with what I'm seeing in the photo to see where these light spots are. Oops, I totally went into my other flower. But you can, again, use your imagination and make these into whatever kind of color variation that you want. Sunflowers come in a lot of different colors. So if you are interested in kind of this style of flower, but you want to do some of the other color variations that are that it comes in, just Google it. And you can, with the different tones, if you want to do the lighter variations of it, or the more yellow variations of it, you can certainly go through this similar process and then just using whatever other colors that you want. You could do a totally orange one. You could do, I think there's super vibrant yellow ones. There's, different variations. I think there's kind of ones that are calico-y that have multiple colors within them. So you can certainly do whatever you want on those. This one's got some super lightness right in through here. So again, this is a step that I will modify in a future step, but I'm just trying to get all the directions. Oh, I missed this guy down here. Trying to get all the directions of, I'm picking up some deep yellow and some orange right now. Of these petals, just to get my brain straight. There's a big shadowy area under here, so I guess I'm just making this dark right now. Something like that. And then I am going to be using, I think I want to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our petals. I'm going to use my number 6 bright brush to paint, but I'm going to use my number 3 round to pre-mix a custom color. So I want a different shadowy color other than brown. So I'm going to make myself what I'm going to call, we'll just call it dark orange. It's kind of a muted brownish dark orange, but for lack of a better name, I'm going to call it dark orange. So I have it on my palette here. How I achieved this color is I used my chrome orange, a little bit of brown, a touch of yellow, deep yellow, and a touch of white. So I guess I should tell you the colors I'm using in this step. Brown, orange, deep yellow, chrome yellow, and white. So my dark orange is being made with orange, brown, deep yellow, and white. And I'm just going to start spinning it together. So that's a little bit too dark on my palette here, but it's in the right color. So I'm going to just add a tiny touch of white. There we go. That looks pretty good. So I just want to go for something that is definitely darker than my orange, has some brownish hue to it. And I'm going to use this as a lot of my deep shadowy colors. So I'm going to enhance my shadows in through some of these petals. I'm even going to have some shadows from a petal onto another petal. But before I do the shadows, excuse me, laying on top of a leaf or a petal, I want to make sure that my edges are as crisp and bright as I want them to be. So I'm going to start with a little bit of yellow or white and chrome yellow on my brush, because some of these edges at the top I'm not satisfied with yet. So, oh, and my canvas is dry. So I'm adding another layer on top of these ones where I definitely need them to and want them to be overlapping my background, and I want to make sure that I have that intensity or that lightness, that I've got it in the correct tonal value. Again, I can also add more chrome yellow to it after it dries. I'd rather go a little bit lighter than I had anticipated in order to help me get that yellow as vibrant as I want it to. But as I'm doing this, I'm still watching the direction of those stripes, or those, I think that's the best way I can call it, the veins in the flower. So just being mindful of that. So again, this is white plus my chrome yellow on my brush, and just allowing myself, I know that I want this one to be really yellow up at the top, really chromy yellow. So I'm just allowing myself to get it to be nice and light. This one back here too is super duper light. So just making sure I have that light layer, and then I can just add stuff on top of it. I can add more yellow, I can add more orange if I want to, but just want to make sure I have it as light as I want and that my edges are as crisp as I want. These edges in the photo seem to be pretty crisp and clean, so I'm just trying to emulate that. There we go. And then this guy is dark. He's cracking me up. I don't know why I'm calling it the male petal. It's more of a masculine petal because it's got those dark tones in it, I guess. That's from what my brain is telling me. That looks light enough. So I'm really just making sure that I've got those light tones, as light as I can, as I want them, because I'm gonna add, oh, there's a little, this guy right here needs a little more. That looks nice. So again, this is just white plus a little bit of my chrome yellow. Just doing another layer on these petals in the areas that I want to crisp up the edges, or the areas that I want to really have a super bright chrome yellowy type of look to them. So this one's got it pretty light over in through here. And I think for me, you guys, if you've watched me ever, know that I love to layer my paint. It for me just allows me to really get a nice, a lot of dimension in the objects or in the elements to it. So this is again one of those times where layering for me is just gonna do it for me. I just know that for flower petals, it's difficult for me personally to just get that perfect color right on the first shot, and it doesn't even make sense to me to attempt it, because when I start to dissect a certain object, I start seeing 100 different colors. So it doesn't make sense for me to attempt to get, that perfect color coming out of the gate, because there isn't one perfect color that should be used or is supposed to be used in a specific object, because they're all, they just come with 100 different colors. This one's got a light spot in through here. This one's got light in through here. So I think I've got a lot of my light areas and my edges nice and taken care of. So now I'm gonna go in for those shadowy areas, and then we'll meet the two up. So I'm gonna wash my brush, and I'm gonna pick up some of that dark orange color, and I'm going to say, okay, on this one I see that there is definitely a really dark area in through here that kind of allows for a little kind of crease in that flower petal down at the bottom, so I can use this darker color to enhance that spot that would dip in. I might even go a little bit darker than that in a minute, but right now I just kind of want to start to just enhance these darker areas. This one's got a little bit of this in through here, and then some of this color can even be used up in some of these creases. Like I feel like there's kind of a crease in through there. I could use this up at the top of this guy, in through here. So this is just that dark orange color that now I'm using in other places. I can use it in just the shadowy areas, but I can also use it in some of the flowers that seem like they've got some darker tones rolling up them or in those creases. You can also use it with a touch of water on your brush. So if you want it to have a little bit smoother of a look, you can certainly add a touch of water on your brush, and then it becomes more of like a glaze to use on certain areas. I see a tiny bit of some kind of darker color in through here, so I'm just allowing for that to happen. So again, this is the dark orange. We've got some in through here. I've got some underneath here. It's actually going to be a shadow on there. And I'm feeling like this is not dark enough for me. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to touch a little bit more brown into it to get it to go, and orange, to go just a little bit darker. Because I definitely want it to be, have enough impact, and I'm feeling like it's not having enough impact. So I just added a little bit more brown and orange to it to get it a little bit darker. So there we go. That'll help feather that out. This is pretty dark underneath here. And again, yours does not have to be exactly as mine. I'm just kind of using that photo as inspiration to allow for these darker areas. There's a big shadow underneath this guy, but before I do that, I'm going to put a little bit of this darkness in through here. So again, I'm just building off of what I had already done. This is just another tone of the shadow colors in the creases, and it's allowing for me to add that additional information to the flowers. So this one's got a big shadow underneath it from this petal right here. So I'm just kind of adding that, allowing for it to take on some nice tone in through there. That looks nice. So again, this is just my dark orange. Well, it's my darker orange now. And then allowing for it to just kind of come up and intermingle with what I've already done. So again, this is just another layer to the process. I've got it in through here, but as I progress through these layers, I'm also knowing that I don't need to do as much work every layer that I go. I can work less because I've already got the foundation for the flower. I know where it's going to be. I know how the curves of it are going to go. I know how I want it to lay on top of the next one. So I'm really just kind of fine tuning the details a little bit more, and just allowing myself to just have a little bit more freedom as I build my way towards those final details. This one's going to be pretty light, but it still has a little bit of these shadowy creases in through here, so I don't have much paint on my brush. This guy over in through here, again, this is the dark orange. I need to make a little bit more with that brown in there, and just get it to go nice and dark underneath here. This is a shadow that kind of comes over and under, so something like this. And you might find that, you know, as you're doing your shadows, you might want them to be more bold or less bold, whatever is visually appealing to you, you know, you roll with. A little bit in through here. So I think that looks pretty good. I do want to do just a tiny bit more darkness in a couple of these areas, so I'm going to pick up just a little bit more brown just to kind of pop a tiny bit more darkness in through some of these before I hit the final pass of the lightness. And again, your perception of how dark these shadows should be, or how much contrast that you want in the whole thing, that's really going to be a personal call on your part, depending on if you know how true to the photo that you want to get it, or how much detail that you want to put in it. That's up to you. I'm gonna put a little bit of shadow underneath this guy, which I had already done, but I feel I want it more. So there we go. I'm gonna wash my brush so I can pop that final layer of chrome yellow and maybe a little bit of white. And if I feel I want some more deep yellow, I certainly can. So on top of something like this, if I just go in with some chrome yellow on top, now it's super yellow. So you can really increase the intensity by just popping that chrome yellow right on top of those lighter areas. And the chrome yellow is going to be very transparent, so you can see all of those colors underneath it. And you can see as I'm doing this, now I've got that iconic, vibrant yellow appearance of the sunflower. And I'm most likely gonna maybe pop a tiny bit of I didn't even really finish this petal down here. This petal seems to have been forgotten. I might pop a little bit more of my deep yellow on after I get this, or even a little bit of the white. But you can see this is really just adding that sun-kissed, holy cow, we've got some bright yellow leaves or petals on here. And again, some can be more, some can be less, but that's going to be your call as to what the yellow intensity is that you like. You know, you might find that you want it way more than I'm doing, and if so, then the key to that would be just making it whiter underneath, and that would allow for that intensity. And then if you want any of the edges to be lighter or more have a little bit more lightness to them, you can certainly pick up some of the chrome yellow plus a little bit of white, and that'll give you just some additional maybe little pops of sunshine on some of the petals, maybe these back ones or wherever you feel it would benefit you. You could also use more of the deep yellow or more of the orange if you felt that anything would benefit you more. Feel free to do that. And then we are going to be using the bristle brush for the next step. So I'm thinking that I've got my petals as sunshiny as I want them to be. I just picked up a tiny bit of my deep yellow. So again, you could pop, if you wanted to curl these edges over a little bit, you could pop a tiny bit of the deep yellow at the edge, and that would just push them back a little bit. But anyways, I digress sometimes. I'm going to be using the large bristle brush for the next step, so you can just get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the second layer to the center of the flower. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, brown, orange, and maybe a little bit of white and deep yellow. So I want to just get a lot of dimension in this center. I am definitely not going for as much detail on mine as there is in the photo because we'd be here for like 7 weeks if I did. So I'm going to just give a nice loose interpretation of it. I'm going to start with a little bit of black, and when I say a little bit, I'm just saying a little bit on the tip of my brush. I'm going to be dotting this in through here on this right hand side. I do not want to take away all of the other colors that I have in here. This is a very seed-oriented center of the flower, so I am allowing myself to kind of make it darker in through here, just tapping my brush so I can keep some of those other colors showing through. I am going to tap it a little bit in the middle just so I have a touch of the black dots in through there. And I'm going to dot it everywhere with black, but just little tiny dots. So I'm going to just let myself run out of paint. The heaviest is going to be in here. And then I'm just going to allow myself just the appearance of little black speckles everywhere else. But again, I didn't wash my brush or put more paint on it. So I'm just allowing myself to utilize the stuff that's underneath with that tiny bit of paint on my brush. Now what I can do is I can pick up a little bit of brown and orange. So brown and orange. And this is where I'm going to tap in between these little, maybe I need a little bit more black too. I just want to make sure that I have that transition between the flowers. Yeah, so I picked up a tiny bit more black too. Black, orange, and brown are on my brush right now. That transition between the petals and the center of the flower. I don't want my pencil line to show. I just want to make sure that I've got a good amount of paint in through there so it's just ruffled up a little bit and we've got that dimensional element. So again, orange, brown, and black are all on my brush, and I'm not over painting. I'm not sitting here and dotting it a million times. I'm just kind of allowing myself to tap around those edges so I don't see my pencil marks, so I don't see any unwanted, unpainted areas, and I'm just allowing it to look nice and natural. So once I've got that exterior kind of modified, I am going to wash my brush now, and I'm going to pick up orange and deep yellow. So orange and deep yellow, and you can go kind of heavy on your brush, and then I'm going to start to give myself these additional kind of speckle marks, maybe in through here, and you can overlap them into that black a little bit, but just tap it. Don't smush it, because if you smush it, what's going to happen is you're going to start to blend it a lot, and you don't need it to be blended a lot. You're just kind of going for these little speckle marks. So just little speckle marks up in through here. Going to give it a lot of dimension, picking up more orange and yellow, the deep yellow in through here. As I transition down this left and right side, I'm going to use more orange on my brush because I'm seeing more orange, like it gets a little bit darker on these sides. So I'm going to just tap a little bit more orange down here. And again, allowing myself to keep a lot of that darkness that was already there. So just orange dots. So the yellow happened in the center here and up top here, and then the orange is coming down over these areas towards the bottom. That looks pretty good. And then I feel as though I want a little bit more lightness up in the top. So this is where I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white, orange, and yellow. And this needs to be a tiny bit. So just tap it off on your paper towel, and then you can incorporate, oh, just a little bit more. I was a little too cautious there. Tiny bit, itty bitty bit. And you can start incorporating these little tiny lighter marks in through here. Yeah, that's a good amount. So again, just tap, 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 tap. I'm just using the corner of my brush to get these lighter kind of marks in through here, allowing them to intermingle with what I've already done. I think that looks pretty good. And then maybe a couple little in through here. Boy, this is going to be hard to start. But I'm picking up some more orange. I am going to, we are going to have one more step on this. Oh, I see some like shadowy things coming out here. Just going to put some little orange. So I'm going to be using, I'm tapping, sorry. My brain is all over the place right now. I'm using some orange to tap on top of this black right in through here. because I don't want that to go too black. There we go. And then I'm going to use my small brush for the next step. So once you've got it kind of in this stage, you can put the large brush away, take out small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the center of the flower. I am using my number 3 round brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, blue, white, and maybe some of my orange and my deep yellow. And if I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So I'm making a whole bunch of little seed things. So I'm starting with some black paint, and I'm gonna allow myself to just make kind of these polka dotty type of marks. You can bring them as far out as you want. On the photo, they kind of, some of them pop out a little bit farther than the center of the flower. So I'm just gonna make myself a whole bunch of these little black dots. I'm trying not to make them too systematic, so some are going to be bigger, some are going to be littler than others. You can, obviously in the center I already have a lot of black stuff, so I don't really need to overcomplicate that center area. I'm just where it's in the lighter areas, I can make some of these additional black dots, and I'm going to just kind of make a whole bunch of them all over the place, let them hang over the edges of my of the center, kind of out, kind of roguey, something like this. And again, just a whole bunch of little black dots. You can, as you're doing yours, if you feel that you want more lightness in the background, you could certainly add more lightness. But the way that I'm seeing this this picture is that these little seed things are kind of on the exterior of almost like these long little stamen things. So I am just trying to emulate something that gives you a visual similarity to it. But again, as you're going through your process, maybe you just want yours in a different stage. Like I know that sunflowers, the centers of them have so many different stages as their seeds are growing, and as they are, you know, as the whole flower is growing, there's just different ways. There's different species of the flowers. There's different ways that the seeds kind of maturate. So just as you're going through your process, just know if you want to make yours different, you certainly can. And then once I've got all these little tiny black dots, little polka dots, I'm going to add little shiny glow things on them. So that's where my blue is going to come into play. So I'm going to use blue and a little bit of white. I'm making myself a light blue color. And this is, I'm having these shiny because it's a sunshiny day. And I think it's going to be super cool if there is little shiny spots on them that are making it look like they are reflecting the sky colors. So just little tiny blue dots at the end of some of your black dots. You don't have to do it on all of them, and it doesn't even have to be super bright. If you want it a little darker, just add a touch of black into it so it's kind of like a grayish blue. It doesn't have to be you know, as invasive or as anything. It can be, you could even put even more if you just kind of tap, and if you hit one of the black dots, great. If not, no worries. It's just going to add this really cool little sheen to some of your black dots. You could also do a tiny bit of white, but the white is gonna, you can certainly add white to it. That there's no harm in that. So if you wanted to add just a tiny bit of white as opposed to the blue, or in conjunction with the blue, that's just again going to allow the viewer to understand that these little things can be shiny, that they have a little bit of sheen to them. So you feel whatever intensity that you want to do with them, feel free to do so. And then once you've got yours in a spot that is comfortable to you, I'm keep on keeping on, because I'm seeing lots of these little kind of shiny dots on a whole bunch of them in this area over here. So I'm just I'm going for it. I'm going for it with these little tiny polka dots. And you can even put more of these little blue dots than you did the black dots. So you don't have to put it on every single one as one for one, because the viewer's not going to see it as that. They're just going to see it as little shiny marks. So that's what I'm doing. You can, I think I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of my orange and white, just to make sure that I have enough lightness, orange, white, and my deep yellow. Just make sure if you have little areas that you want in between to have a little bit more lightness, you can certainly just keep elevating that just by more polka dots. It's all polka dot. It's a polka dotting kind of system. And then once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this small brush, and you can get ready for the next step. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the lower left or the lower right. I think I'm gonna go lower left on this one with, I'm gonna go with that dark orange color, and I'm gonna sign it right here. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you of course can sign yours however you want. You can make up a fun symbol, you can sign it on the back, you can hide it in the painting. Whatever you want to do is up to you, because it is your painting and you get to make all of those kind of executive decisions all on your own. And that is going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a really vibrant summer sunflower, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.